Dick Cervellis, chemistry teacher at Jasper High School. I'm looking forward to learning with you all this semester. One of the most important resources that you'll want to take advantage of in our class is the Science Portal. This is a website that I designed and have been creating and redesigning since 2012. This video is to serve as a tutorial so that you can get familiar with all of the resources available. You'll be given a workbook as well, but the workbook is just a printed version of this website. There are some exceptions to what goes in the workbook as compared to the website. I'll point those out as we go along. But man, I really cannot emphasize the importance of utilizing the Science Portal through your journey of learning chemistry. You can see here as I highlight different sections what all is incorporated here. We have a calendar tab that includes not only the Jasper City Schools calendar, but specific calendars for each course. I have a link here to a virtual classroom for times when you're going to be sick or out of class for an extensive period of time. The Science Portal has a Twitter account that you're more than welcome to follow. And then there's a Contact Us tab that has my email and phone number and things like that so that you can have direct contact. Here's a short little video of what my class is like. So you're going to start with your very first chapter, which is chapter 0, and it's the Getting Started section. This is to help get you familiarized with the course. Once completed, you'll never revisit that tab. On the daily, you'll be going to this tab called Science Courses, because there's where you'll find the unique course that you're enrolled in. I do have some science readings, PDFs that I have shared with you, some science videos related to the different courses I teach, and a science writing tab. This just provides some information about how you are to write in science. It's part of the Getting Started assignment, so let's go into a little bit more detail about this. So the Science Portal is an online learning management system. It was created by me. I use it in my classroom every single day, and I expect that you'll be using it at home as you navigate your way through this class. What you'll find in here is the course material, presentations, practice items with solutions to help you with your homework, and many other resources to aid in your success in this course. Okay, and then below you can see that there's the web address. It's just a website, but it does function like a mobile app. And there's a generic username and password. Everybody has the same username and password because I'm not tracking your data or browser history or anything like this. The assignments in the Getting Started section should be considered your very first chapter, chapter 0. Okay, they are graded assignments and are absolute requirements for the course. You cannot not do these things, okay? There's a pacing guide included. It's in the workbook, and it's here on the Science Portal under the Getting Started tab that goes into more detail about what's expected, okay? So the first thing you'll want to do is just go to this web address on your mobile device and or laptop. If you're using your mobile device, be certain to push whatever button you need to add it to your home screen. That way it's readily available. And then the second thing you'll want to do is just go to the Science Portal, click on the Getting Started tab, and begin completing those different assignments. Here, go over the general structure of the course. It's graded by weighted averages, not points. Each assignment does have a point value, but each assignment falls into one of two categories. It's either part of your daily grade, which is 30% of your grade. That includes practice items, labs, quizzes, and free response questions. And then tests are 70% of your overall grade. The good thing about this weighted average is as long as you're doing all of your daily work and getting 100% credit for that, you don't have to have a perfect performance on every test to still get a grade that you're really proud of. Each chapter is structured the same way. There's a series of practice items, 1 or 2 lab activities, a quiz, a practice test, and a chapter test. In order to help you keep up with which assignments you should be working on, and what the point value or what category they fall into, each chapter has with it a notebook checklist. This is basically an overall rubric for the chapter. Take a moment and schedule when you plan to complete each practice assignment. Each chapter has a pacing guide that goes along with it. The pacing guide lists the topics of the discussion and aligns each topic with the practice items that go along with that topic. The best practice is to complete each of those items the day that topic is taught. I can't emphasize this enough. If day one I teach you about the branches of chemistry, that day you should go and try to complete that assignment so that you don't get behind and the information is more current in your mind. Time allowing, we will have at the end of each class some time to work on some of this practice. That way you can get 2, 3, 4, or 5 of these practice items knocked out with the aid of a teacher here to provide you some guidance. Whatever doesn't get finished, you do for homework. Do not wait until the day before the test to try to complete the assignments, because at that point it's too late to figure out what you're not good at. You'll see here in this tab there's a message from your teacher video that I ask that you watch and reflect on. It's a short little video. Right now you're participating in the Science Portal tutorial video, which is one of your assignments with a quiz that follows. So one of your other assignments in the Getting Started folder would be the course description and syllabus. Simply review it, you sign it, and get your folks to sign it. The lab safety contract, you sign it, and you get your folks to sign it. There will be a lab safety test that you'll have to make a 100 on. I do also have an assignment called Success in Science, which is just a list of tips and tricks that I want you to review and reflect in writing. More information on that assignment is on the page. And then there's a Welcome to Science reading article that I think you'll find enjoyable. Most students enjoy reading that and writing about it. All right, just for the sake of clarity, let's look at the lab safety contract just for a second. Oftentimes these things do not get completed correctly. Here you print your name, it'd be the student's name, and then sign on this particular line and date it, and then your parents have a spot at the bottom there so that they can sign and date. Once those things are done and turned in, that assignment is complete. The lab safety contract is your study guide for the lab safety test. We complete this in class together. Here are the useful tips for success in science. Everything listed here is research-based and backed on science. So I hope you can find a couple of these listed items here to help you to be successful. The assignment is got instructions at the top here. It says read and review the following. Choose a tip you consider a strength. Write and reflect on each, providing examples. Choose a weakness or an area you believe you could benefit from or improve on, and then write and reflect on that. Here's the deal. Whatever you pick that you consider to be a weakness, make sure it's something that not only you know would help you, but you are also willing to try to do to improve your academic performance. As I mentioned, the Welcome to Science article I think you'll find interesting. It's an excerpt from a book called A Short History of Nearly Everything by Bill Bryson. The instructions are written here at the top. This is just a reading article writing submission. So much of our communication today is done online, and so our Netiquette assignment here is to help provide us with some examples of how to interact via email, social media, and just online communication in general. This is the notebook checklist for the Getting Started assignment. It's in your workbook in the very front there for you to look at. Here's the pacing guide, shows you what to do and what the expectation is. And again, each chapter has a pacing guide to help you stay on track. All right, science courses. Let's get into the meat and potatoes. I'm going to use chemistry for my example here. So notice the first thing we can point out is that the chemistry portal has already exam preparation items. That would include the final exam study guide, information about the midterm, and all of that ready to go. You could literally take the practice test for the final exam today. If we go into the actual chemistry, honors chemistry course, you see there's a calendar link, videos, chemistry textbook, and again, the exam preparation folder. Here we have all of our chapters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 is the first part of our semester, and then part 2, chapters 7 through 11, is what we'll finish up with. If we go into a particular chapter, you can see this is the layout for every chapter. There's a pacing guide, student learning objectives, proficiency scales when necessary, a big ideas tab, and a notebook checklist. And every chapter begins with an introduction. All right, let's dive into the pacing guide real quick. There's 3 lessons in chapter 1. You can see those identified by the underlined phrases there: intro to chemistry, classification of matter, and intro to the periodic table. Every chapter has essential vocabulary. I'm sorry, there's no points award for this, but man, it sure is helpful for the students that take the time to do it. Hint, hint. The big ideas is a general overview. Often students think of these sort of like study guides, although I wouldn't say they're all-inclusive study guides. Here's our notebook checklist. It's just our itemized rubric with point values assigned to each assignment so that you can keep track of your progress and performance. It's the only item I will take out of your workbook and keep. Everything else you'll keep in your workbook for as long as you'd like. Every chapter has an introduction. This is how we start our discussion, and it is meant to be a discussion. Here is our teacher's presentation. Notice that there's 3 of them there because chapter 1 has 3 lessons. The blue writing are hyperlinks to the section of this lesson. Okay, if we click on one, it takes us directly to it. Notice the navigation arrows at the bottom right corner. You can scroll sideways, you can scroll down, you can scroll back up. Typically, when you scroll down, that's where you have the teacher's notes. So you actually have access to My Teacher Notes. Just at a glance here, I think you would agree this is more interactive than just a PowerPoint. Here is our 3 lessons for Chapter 1. Those are all the presentations. And I'd like to take a second, and look at the assignments. For sure, you have these in your workbook, but there is some advantage to viewing it on the Science Portal that I'll discuss. Each assignment typically has the definitions and general instructions at the top. And at the very top, you have a link to a video summary. So as you can see, it's launched to a Bozeman Science video. This would be for students who maybe missed that day, or maybe they're in class, but they're having an off day, and for whatever reason it wasn't clicking, they can go watch this video. And now we have our solutions. This has to be used with care. It's very easy for a student to go to the solutions, complete their homework, get a 100 on their notebook check. Those students will fail the test. You want to do the work yourself and use the solutions only to check your work. Please just don't copy the answers to get a cheap daily grade. Each chapter has a free response question as well. These are overarching open-ended questions that summarize the chapter. There are solutions included with these as well, but we typically will review that in class before the test. Students tend to neglect these free response questions. They're a large part of your grade. Please do not do that. Most chapters have a study guide. There's some exception to this. The students that put valid effort into it tend to do better on test. Every chapter has a lab activity, and some even have a companion virtual version of that lab. Let's now talk about the meat and potatoes of your study habits, the practice test. Every chapter has a practice test, and it is the quintessential, most important thing you should do. You should take the practice test the day that we begin a new chapter. I know this sounds absurd because you're not going to know any chemistry when we first start a chapter, but it's important because it's going to point your attention to the terms and concepts that are important. So then when those ideas come back up in the class, you'll recognize them, having given a valid attempt on the practice test before the content has even started. Now, here's the most important part. Once you hit submit, as you can see on the screen here, it grades it and gives you the rationale. The rationale is the reasoning for the answer choice. It's the correct solution. That's the part that you should spend your time studying. The practice test is not going to be a carbon copy of your actual test. It's different. But the concepts are the same, and sometimes you'll get similar questions in there, but the content and concepts to be learned are exactly the same as what's on the test. Do it at the beginning of the chapter, do it in the middle of the chapter, do it 2 or 3 times towards the end of the chapter. It remains open all the time. At the bottom of each chapter page, there's an elaborate section where you'll find some review videos. These are just links to YouTube videos that I've found over the years to be helpful. Like these last 2 videos here review the entirety of chapter 1. If you find a video that you think is better than the ones I have listed, please share that and I'll incorporate it. For a lot of students, it takes a while for them to get used to my class. For sure, come see me if you need help. There is a help tab up here at the top, as you can see, with some links to some different resources and things of that nature. These are great when you don't have access to me, but if you're struggling with the class, do not wait for the first 9 weeks to finish to decide you want to come get some extra help, because by then it's too late. There's also a page for the course documents. Here you find a link to the syllabus, the Success in Science article, a scope and sequence, the chemistry standards, a link to the printable textbook, and it's divided into chemistry and AP chemistry material, as you can see here. You can see there's a link to the reference packet, which is in the back of your workbook, 2 free open source textbooks that you can utilize. Here's the reference pack that you should be able to find in the back of your workbook. If you were to lose it or need an item out of it, because we will be pulling those items out and they can be lost, you can always right-click on any document on the Science Portal to print it. I repeat, any document that you can pull up on your phone or on a PC, if you just right-click on it, you can select Print and print that document. We'll look at what each of these documents is used for in class. It's not necessary to do that right now. Let's talk about exam preparation. Each course in the Science Portal has a tab for exam preparation. Here you can find the presentation, study guide, and practice test for the midterm and final exams. There's one caveat. In chemistry, your midterm is the Chapter 6 test. So it counts both as the Chapter 6 test and it counts as your midterm. You can exempt unless the grade for the midterm lowers your overall grade. In that case, if you're eligible to exempt, I'll just use your grade at that point in the class for the midterm exam. To prepare for the final exam, you'll be expected to review the 11 chapter practice test. Students who have reported doing this 2 or 3 times for each test always score a 90, 94, 95, even 96 on the final exam. Keep in mind, the students who are taking this exam are not always the best students. So if they're able to do this, it means it's a valid strategy. Please take that advice. My family and I have been involved in martial arts for about 2.5 years now at the recording of this video. And one of the takeaways from that is the feeling that you get when your instructor validates and recognizes your progress. Just look at this picture of my daughter receiving a stripe on her belt. That excitement is what inspired me to incorporate this into my class. And so everyone will start as a white belt, and periodically as you progress through the course, you'll get belt promotions. So there's a white belt, a blue belt, purple belt, and the ultimate goal for everyone is a black belt. Now I will say, not everyone will become a black belt. Here's a quick overview of the syllabus. Got some contact information for me, including my room, phone number, and extension. Feel free to give this to your parents. You won't have your cell phone at your seat with you, and if there's an emergency and they need to get a hold of you, feel free to give them that number and my cell phone number, which you can find on the Science Portal as well. The only materials you really need is a pencil and a calculator if you have a particular one that you prefer. All other things I'll provide. Look, when you're a student in my class, every day you'll have 100% of my attention. I won't be on Facebook or scrolling social media. I'll be giving you my attention. And what I ask in return is 100% of your attention. This is the reason why I refuse to compete with things that are better at grasping your attention than I am, primarily social media and your cell phone. That's the reason why I've incorporated this cell phone policy. Okay, and man, if we can do that, we'll have a great class. I'm gonna be 100% dedicated to you. You just be 100% dedicated to me for 90 minutes every day, and we'll have one amazing class. I encourage you to read the details of the syllabus on your own time, but let me give you a quick synopsis here. Chemistry's tough, man. I know you've heard chemistry's challenging. There's going to be some frustration that comes along with that. It's completely normal. If you're working out in the gym and you're lifting an amount of weight that doesn't cause you some struggle and some frustration, then you know you're just wasting your time because you're not getting stronger from that. The same thing is true in the classroom. If your brain doesn't hurt a little bit at the end of a class, it's because you weren't challenged, so that you're not getting better. And in my case, if you're spending 90 minutes doing something and it doesn't better you in some way, it's a waste of time. You'll be proud of the grade you earned in this class because you'll know that you've earned it. I'm a solutions-focused teacher. I'm teaching you how to solve problems. For sure, the correct answer is important, and it will be graded based on whether an answer is correct or not. But more important than that is the strategies that you're going to learn as to how to solve problems. The problems that you're going to face in your life most certainly probably are not chemistry related unless that's a career field you go into. Problem solving strategies are ubiquitous. What you'll learn in this class you can use throughout your entire life. The prerequisite to be in this class is academically able and, more importantly, academically willing. Let's talk about attendance, assignments, and makeup policy. The kids who fail are almost always kids that don't come to class regularly. It's tough. To even miss one class a week is too much. Certainly things are going to happen. Some of those things are out of your control, which means when it is within your control, do not miss. If you have to have an extended absence, I have the virtual classroom, which you can live feed in and watch the class from the comfort of your couch. For assignments, your workbook is graded once a chapter. I'll never assign you homework and ask for it to be turned in the next day. It's not how I operate. While you're taking your chapter test, I'll grade your workbook. Let me be clear about this. Your daily work, the worksheets that are in this workbook, will only be graded during your test. So while you test, I'll grade your workbook. That does not mean it's a good idea to wait until the night before the test to try to get the workbook done. What that leads to is going to the science portal and copying down the solutions. This is the other strategy used by students who fail. They wait till the last minute. Now it's been 8 days since they learned something and they don't remember it. They have to cut corners and cheat to get their workbook grade, and then they fail the test. This is a terrible strategy. You're expected to produce your own work. If you're caught cheating or plagiarizing something, you'll receive an academic penalty, and this could be as much as being removed from the Honor Society. Cell phones can only be used as an instructional tool. For the most part, they won't be in your possession, and they should never be in your possession during a test. That means not in your backpack, not in your pocket, not on your desk, but up front in the holder, or else this too could be considered academic dishonesty. Help sessions. I'm here from 7:30 to right at 3:15. I'm here to help you. Please come see me if you need help. Makeup. I'm pretty flexible. If you've had something come up and you've got an excused absence and you want to turn something in a little bit late, I'm okay with that under most circumstances, but you need to get with me ahead of time. Let me know so I can anticipate it. And just, of course, be sure not to take advantage of that. I won't go into all the details about my biography, but I will leave you with this. I care about my students. I've got a degree in science. There's a lot of other occupations that I could go into and make as much or even more money than teaching. I chose teaching because it's where my heart is and it's where my passion is. The Science Portal website is something that I've worked very hard on for a very long time. The impetus behind it was just to provide students with as many resources as possible so that they could be successful in a challenging course like chemistry. It's a lot, and students have reported that sometimes they don't know which resource to use or what resources are available. Sometimes students choose not to utilize the Science Portal website. And so that's the reason for making this video, is just to give you some familiarity with the different resources on the Science Portal and how to use it. I'm excited for the semester. I think it's going to be a great semester. You can see I've already got your workbooks put in place here. And if I was to leave you with just a couple of things, if you're struggling on which resource to focus on, I would say after completing your workbook, practice items, on your own, giving a diligent effort, use the Science Portal to check the solutions of that practice. That way you know that what you're doing is correct. You could go through the entire chapter, get all kinds of answers for the practice items, only to find out you did most of them wrong. Well, this isn't helpful. That's the reason I provide you with the solutions. You'll have to avoid the trap, though, of getting behind on your practice items and just going to the solutions and copying them down. You will not learn anything from that. And keep in mind, the way that we've structured our weighted grades here at the high school is 30% comes from daily and 70% comes from the test. But if you take my advice, do the work yourself, put in that effort, and then check your answers and learn from those mistakes. That's good preparation for the test. That's my first number one recommendation. My second important recommendation would be the practice test. Take it one time before the test. You won't know a lot of the answers, but take it like it's a real test, like it counts, and then study the rationales after you grade it. That way, throughout the course, when those topics and terms come up, you'll remember reading them on that test and you'll know, ooh, this is time to focus because I know this is going to be on the actual test because I saw it on the practice test. And then repeat that process 2, 3, or even 4 more times, especially right before the actual test. That would be my number one study recommendation as far as ranking it in importance, is utilize that practice test as a study guide. Study the rationales. Don't memorize the answer choices because it's not the same test. Go through and learn those rationales, especially on the ones that you get wrong. My third recommendation is if you still find yourself struggling 2, 3 weeks into the class, it's your obligation, your responsibility to come seek me out. You can come during Viking block. You could come at 7:30 in the morning. You could come when the bell rings at 2:55 or so and get a little extra help. I know it might not seem like you can accomplish much from 2:55 to 3:15 or so, but you'd be surprised the number of students who have done exactly that and bumped their grade an entire letter. Was a C student for the first 9 weeks, and then in the second part of the semester, after getting some personalized help, was able to earn a B that they were proud of. The last thing I'll leave you with is this meme a student made of me that I found kind of funny. You can find it on the Science Portal's Twitter account, as well as some examples of workbooks that people have decorated and other things that I'll share there from time to time. See you soon, guys.